Okay, now I'm cleaning up the image transfers that I talked about in the previous video and the image transfer quote unquote fail that ended up being the continued theme throughout this journal. And so I take one of those, this is like a piece of hemp paper, I believe, and I cut out another image of the girl and I'm going to glue her down here, and then I am going to let that dry because I want to use her shape to create the next part of this entry here. And so yeah, I'm just going to glue this down. I think that's gel medium. And then I'm going to cover the image with just the catalog page there and then use the straight edge to burnish that in really good. And I did that just to protect the image. Now I'm going to add some water. This is an inkjet print. So the ink will move a little bit, and I wanted to create like a little bit of a puddle with the ink moving to kind of merge it a little bit more with the black that was left from the other image transfer. So I'm just using water here to kind of make some little puddles to move that around. And now I'm pulling out the white gesso and I want to create a wash over her, and I want it to be some areas really white and some areas kind of murky, some areas, let the black show through. And so as you can see, I'm just following the shape here with the wet brush. I did water down the gesso quite a bit as well in the first layer here. I just want to create that light wash, and I'm not really needing to see her arms or any details. I really just want her shape. And so I'm going through and just doing that. I'm going to give that a quick dry. And now I'm going to go back in with more white gesso and try and create a thicker layer of the gesso on top with the brush, and kind of, have the brightness of the white start to stand out more in contrast with the gray and the black and the puddle, like the wash that's underneath. I found this process to be very relaxing and quite enjoyable. Kind of fun to not have a specific comparison, something that you're trying to create, something you're looking at creating exactly in the same, versus just kind of going with the flow and seeing what happens. I find here that the brush was not giving me the finish that I really wanted. I'm adding another layer with the brush, but then I decide to use my finger to try and give it a smooth look on the surface versus the brush marks. And now I pull out my trusty little tiny palette knife. I love a palette knife for pretty much almost anything. And so I'm going to apply dabs of paint with that, and that gives me the look that I really want, the smoothness that I'm looking for. reasoning for wanting to make this so smooth is that I want to use a technique known as Sgraffato, and it is originally an Italian technique used in pottery, just to scratch through. And basically, in this instance, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a mechanical pencil tip without the lead, just the metal tip on it, and I'm going to scratch into the white gesso, basically writing a word, and then allow the contrasting colors underneath to show through. And I don't have the contrasting color underneath really dark, it's just that gray wash, and I wanted that. That was purposeful, so that you'd have to look really closely to see what this says or what the words are. And I think I wrote like hope and peace and joy and I am his in that part of it. And then once that was all dry, I did go back in with an ink pen and continued to journal a little bit more in the areas in between where the Sgraffito technique was. And so now I'm going to go in with yellow ochre paint to match the page that I painted on the left. And what's really cool about this is that book page is just some random book page, the one on the left that's painted with the yellow ochre. And it's just a random book page that I just put in here, but on that page is the word surrender. And so that was how the theme of the book came to be altogether. And now I'm going to go in and splatter it with gold watercolor and kind of move a little bit of that around and just add that little bit of shimmer to the page. And now I'm giving that a quick dry. It's always a quick dry between the layers. Okay, now I want to add a little bit of contrast around her outline, and I start out with this really intense dark pencil. I can't remember what it's called, and I know it just showed it. Anyways, carbon. It's a really dark carbon pencil. And so I'm tracing that along, and then I realize that it's not going to give me the look that I want. And so I switch over to my Stabilo All pencil here. And the Stabilo All is the one that moves with water. And so I went ahead and did that, I guess off camera. I missed that part here. But I did use the Stabilo All. And then I went in here with the water brush and started moving that black around a little bit more and just adding some contrast around the edges and helping her stand out. And also too, it washed in a little bit with everything else and it just gave this really nice effect.